Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone who has joined this evening for the discussion on Talking Films Online. Talking Films Online, or TFO in short, is an informal coming together of academics, teachers, students, researchers, filmmakers, and cinephiles interested in cinema, more importantly, interested in talking and writing about cinema. The online group came together quite spontaneously during the pandemic and lockdown in June 2020. Dr. Geeta Vishwanath and I have been coordinating the activities of TFO since its inception with people like Sanjay Kumar, Sridhar Modugu, K. Phaniraj, Ajanta Sarkar, Murali Krishna, Tarakeshwar VB, Yagnashri, Rasha, Madhurima, and many others who joined the weekly discussions and enhanced the quality of the discussion. So far, we have had over 220 discussions, 223, I think, which include weekly discussions on a pre-decided film, besides a few month-long film festivals and discussions. For instance, last January, we had a Farmers Film Festival, and again in March last year, we had a series of discussions on Kumar Shahani's films as a way of paying tribute to him. In September last year, we had a Kannada movie month where filmmakers like Prithvi Konanur, Srinidhi Bengaluru, and screenplay writers like Ananta Chandreya joined the discussion. Sometimes personnel from the film industry, as it has happened today, such as directors, cinematographers, actors, join our weekly discussions. Filmmakers often have made available their films exclusively for TFO members to watch by generously sharing links to their film. And they have also joined in the discussion. We've had directors like Shashikant Anantachari, Utsav Gonwar, Jayan Cherian, Girish Kasarvalli, Adur Gopal Krishnan, Aparna Sen, Anjali Montero, and KP Jayashankar, etc. Last week, we paid tribute to Shyam Benegal by discussing his film Momo. During June last year, to mark the 4th anniversary of TFO, we had organized the 4th smartphone short film competition for students. This is an annual event that we organize for students between 18 to 25 years of age. And we also had a grand award ceremony where the winners of the competition were announced. Again, on September 30th and October 1st last year, we had the first TFO International Seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era, continuities and discontinuities, in collaboration with Forum on Contemporary Theory, Baroda. Our aim is to get a conversation going around cinema and to get as many people involved in the process as possible. Most of our events being online, anyone and everyone interested in cinema is welcome to our forum. We have a blog called talkingfilmsonline.wordpress.com where we encourage all kinds of writings on cinema. We also have a YouTube channel called Talking Films Online where you can watch some of our discussions. We are on Facebook. TFO is a private group on Facebook and on WhatsApp and Instagram as well, where we share information about the weekly discussions, including the links to films, Zoom links, etc. Today's film, AEDAN, Garden of Desire, was suggested by Dr. Ashokan Nambiar C. The director of the film, Sanju Surendran, very kindly has offered to share the link of his film, which has enabled TFO members to watch for this discussion. He's also participating tonight in this discussion. Sanju Surendran is an award-winning Indian filmmaker and graduate of FTII Pune. He had a brief stint as teacher of film direction and screenwriting at K.R. Narayanan National Institute of Visual Science and Arts, Kottayam, Kerala. His documentary on Kutiyattam, Kapila, won the National Award for the Best Documentary and a special mention at Visions du Ril, Nyon, Switzerland. For his first feature film, AEDAN, he won the Rajata Chakoram Award for the Best Debut Director and the Fipreschi Award for the Best Malayalam Film. The film also won 4 Kerala State Awards, including Best Adapted Screenplay and Second Best Film. He has received a number of awards and recognitions for his short films as well, Kandal Pokudan, Expressway, Scribbles on the City, and Tiram. The discussion on the film tonight will be initiated by Ashokan Nambiar C. Ashokan is Assistant Professor in English in Manipal Center for Humanities. His areas of interest include literary history, interface between literary and non-literary fields of inquiry in humanities and social sciences. He is author of the book Print and the Novel in 19th Century Kerala, Reconsidering Colonial Modernity, which was published in 2024. Now it's over to you, Ashokan. It's over to you, Ashokan. You can take off from here. Yeah. Yeah, you can begin, Ashokan.
Okay. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. For some reason, my computer decided to update itself right now, and it is showing 93% updation. So it might require a couple of more minutes for it to restart, and I really will have to speak from my memory. I had a few points which I thought I would highlight in then I would and I've written it down in the form of a presentation. Right now, the computer is not cooperating, so I think I'll try to put together scattered thoughts which gain some coherence in the when I wrote it together. I'm not very confident about it, also because I'm not somebody who engage with cinema critically. So at the outset, let me thank Talking Film Online, especially Dr. Nikhila, for this opportunity to speak about a film called AEDAN, made by Sanju Surendran, who also happens to be a very close and dear friend. The film was again from memory, so if I make a lot of mistakes.
Excuse me, you are not very clearly audible. Can you
Hello?
come a bit closer to the mic? Sorry.
Yeah, can you hear me now clearly? Hello?
Yes.
It's better now.
Okay, this is better.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah, so I can't see my computer screen, so I'll be just recollecting things and a few points which I wanted to make about the film I'll make. And when the computer turns on, then I'll try and read my presentation. It has certain details which I just can't recollect. So, I mean, I was thanking Talking Film Online, and this film that we are discussing today, AEDAN, was released in 2017, if I remember correctly, and it is a cinema adaptation of 3 films by this very prominent contemporary writer in Malayalam called S. Harish. They are stitched together to specifically for this film. So it's an adaptation. It's not an adaptation of one story. So in the adaptation, what happened is 3 stories of S. Harish came together, and the screenplay was written jointly by Sanju Surendran, who directed the film, and S. Harish. When I was watching the film, I remember reading those stories long back, and then when I watched the film, I thought that it is not one story, and called up Sanju to ask if that is what had happened, and he confirmed that this is a kind of weaving or stitching together of 3 stories. That is something which I found interesting to talk about as the first point. Also because we are not unused to seeing different stories in the duration of what we may call generally a film, 1.5 hour, 2 hour. We are used to in our time various stories of short duration of 20 minutes, directed by many different directors, putting them together during the duration of 1.5 hour. And we are used to see separate cinema together continuously, one after the other. Now, this is something Sanju could talk about. Now, what is the specific possibilities that this bringing them together does? When I look at the stories or the form of writing, I can immediately think about some possibilities that it opens up. In the sense, when we place the cinema alongside the story from which it is adapted and put together. That putting together is something which I found very useful or interesting to think about. What is, I mean, for literary analysis, it opens up ways of talking about the story itself, I mean, story in its own terms, or literature in its own terms. It's a challenge that literary criticism continue to face even today. Now, say for example, there are these three stories published in different times, probably in different periodicals, because it's in periodicals that short stories are usually published. Now, when for the film adaptation, there is this first story which connects to the other two stories. Now, that is not what the story as such. Stories had a life, had a literary, we may call it literary life before the adaptation. Now, with the coming of cinema, if we focus on that, as I said, when we place it alongside the cinema, we know that something is happening there. I mean, there are two people have come together to work together, stitch them together, and then we talk about the process through which they are stitched together. There and when we begin to talk about that and go back to the story, then we know that we are talking more about the story, not in terms of the representational issues in literature or any art form, which is one of the most predominant way in which we talk about literature or other art forms, which I often found not very very useful in the sense of whether things are represented rightly or wrongly, what are the issues involved in representation of things in literature or art. Then I mean, it's one of the fundamental problems of which which we all know, that it doesn't allow us that way of speaking about literature as represent. Hello.
No, go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead. It's fine.
yeah. That a representation is that something that we are talking about. The form itself. It doesn't equip us to speak in greater deal about the form itself and various or it's, to put it simply, it's materiality. If we are interested in the materiality of it. Now that for me, I can immediately understand the import of looking at that. That is why I thought it was an interesting thing to. It probably is an interesting thing to highlight while discussing the film. I mean, as a visual medium, I mean, the point is actually straightforward and simple. Was it a necessity of the visual medium of the cinema to put them together? What visual possibilities it brought forth, and what does it help us to think about cinema as a form? Something which I thought we could really think about and discuss. Now, connected to that is to see now it's all come together. There is a canvas in which three stories are connected and getting played out. Hello, am I visible?
Yes, you're visible and audible. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, you're visible and audible, Ashokan.
Yeah. So this takes us to the second point, which I was trying to make in some detail, which is exactly in this canvas, what we see is playing out of live situations which are difficult or unexpected. So characters are caught in situations which they don't think before, prepare themselves, etc., etc., or everyday situations which are what we may call unusual. Now, there are in these three stories, again, I'm speaking from memory of what I had written, so it will have its limitation. Yeah, I think it's my. Can I take a minute? My computer is turning on. Hello.
Yeah, sure. Please take your time. Yeah.
Okay, now I'll continue to speak. I think it is actually taking time. Now, what I was thinking about while watching the film is that there is something that the form of realist cinema cannot capture. What AEDAN is trying to capture. AEDAN is a Malayalam term for Eden, the Garden of Eden. The film is titled AEDAN, the Garden of Desire. Now, AEDAN is surely, when we watch the film, we surely immediately get the sense that it is surely not paradise. Things are in that canvas. It's not paradise or things that are something that we desire for is not what it tries to capture. The film begins with a scene of burying alive 5 puppies, and also when we see the film, we see that death is a recurring motif, or perhaps the most important motif in the film. Now, shall I read the or shall I start from where I stopped, or shall I read it not from the beginning, maybe from the middle?
Yeah, go
Right.
ahead. Go ahead. If you have written it down, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Read.
it's on now. So I mean, it is.
Yeah, you can
I
read
feel a
right
little
from the
relieved.
beginning.
I was feeling a little tense because of that.
No,
Now,
please
okay,
go
I think
ahead.
I'll start from the very beginning. This debut feature film of Sanju Surendran was released in 2017, and it received a considerable number of important film awards, include Rajatha Chagoram Award for the Best Debut Feature Film and Best Adapted Screenplay, Kerala State Awards. The screenplay is written jointly by S. Harish and Sanju Surendran, which is an adaptation of S. Harish's 3 short stories. S. Harish is one of the most well-known and perhaps the best contemporary writers in Malayalam, who has of late entered into arena of screenplay and has written screenplay for some of the best films in recent times, including Nanpagal Nerathu Mayakam Churuli Jellikat. So what I try to do in this presentation is to highlight 3 points which occurred to me while watching the film. The first is the main change that was brought forth while adapting the published short stories for screenplay. I tried to speak about that, but I'll just repeat what I wrote. The script is developed by stitching together three separate short stories of S. Harish. In that sense, they had a life of their own as short stories before they came together in the form of screenplay for the film. In our time, we know that this is not a strict requirement of the form. We are used to watching it in theaters or OTT platforms, 3 or 4 films of short duration directed by one or separate directors, streamed one after the other, packaged for one viewing. Perhaps Sanju or Harish, if he is in the audience, could speak a bit more on this. I remember reading the short stories a while back and called Sanju to confirm if I was right in remembering them as separate stories. And interestingly, none of the stories had the title AEDAN. Again, Sanju can correct me on this. And AEDAN, as we know, is a Malayalam word for Eden, the garden. And when we watch the film, we realize quite immediately or quickly that it is no paradise. The film begins with a scene where the lead character, Hari, buries alive a few puppies on his mother's instruction. And death is an important, perhaps the most important motif in the story. To come back to the question of adaptation, I can see some possibilities. Placing it alongside the short stories open up for literary analysis. One of this is this, a detailing of ways in which the stories are stitched together for the script allow us to develop a mode of talking about literature as an event in itself, rather than as representation of something else, a struggle which literary criticism is still caught in. I'm not sure what visual possibilities it bring forth, this weaving together, and in what way it would help us to understand the medium better. I'll leave this point there. I might have put the point in a rather convoluted manner, but my point is, as I already said, is very straightforward and simple. Does this act of bringing together different stories, is it necessitated by the medium of film? And does it open up any visual possibilities that we can actually think of when we think about a film? Now, the second point I wish to draw attention to is the story itself, which makes possibility for cinema. It's a canvas where various shades of desire appear in what we may assume as unexpected situations. For example, appearance of love and lust while carrying the dead body of the father of one of the characters who undergo such feelings. Those who are familiar with Harish's literary works know that those works are full of such characters and situations. We get a sense while reading him that he presents himself more as a collector of stories, and this is very important. And he keeps repeating this point in interviews, during interviews, some of which are available on YouTube, that he sees stories in everybody. And I think this is a technique that writers often employ, that whenever they see people, they don't see them as people, but as characters. And these characters are carrying stories, and he has an eye for it. And he presents himself as somebody not creating these stories in his head, but somebody who goes around to meet people and collect them as a collector of stories. And when you collect it and then present it, often the author himself becomes a character in that story. Now, in this particular technique that he employs, there is an interweaving of the author, the writer, the situations, etc., etc. Where it is sometimes very difficult to see if he is actually talking about somebody who he saw, or some story is happening there. And that is a distinct, I think, character of Harish. Harish takes up very local, very embedded characters and stories, and a great detailing of that. So much so that he feels certain responsibility to present it as such, and can't be corrected. So correct language. In one of the interviews he said that it is almost difficult, or it is impossible to be politically correct while telling the stories. In one's life, one may try to do that, but in writing, it is not possible, precisely because he is not somebody who's creating it in his own head. He is somebody who's collecting it and presenting it to a wider. So he is. There is some kind of, in a certain sense, one can say, moral responsibility to present it as it is. Now, yeah. So it's not much of this, stories are not much of figments of his imagination. And I've heard him speaking about this dimension of his writing in a couple of interviews, where he also talked about this difficulty one faces as a writer when they come under pressure to be politically correct, or pressures of the time not to be only politically correct, or to be of certain ideology, to use art for certain other purposes, or even come under the pressures that we experience in our own time of speaking about certain things or not speaking about certain things. Okay. In the introduction to his very, very famous and successful novel Misha, translated also into English with the title Mustache by Jayasri Kalathil, he talks how the characters in his story get out of the fictional space. That is, it was quite striking. He says that, I'm afraid of this. My fictional characters, because they get out of that fictional space and keep haunting me. And it is not as if I can just write, but I can't but write because I'm a writer. But I know that these characters are going to slip out of that and come, and then I think he also narrates a story where in one of the stories he made a character out of somebody who met, and that person recognized it and probably verbally abused or beat up or threatened to physically harm Harish. No, so in that sense, Harish is not somebody who creates this fictional world in his head and from which he's safe. His own existence as a writer is very presents himself as somebody who encounters or experiences precarity because he is a writer. Now we know that Misha, this very important, and maybe one of the most important, and we can say one of the best novels produced in the recent times, encountered a major, rather unfortunate controversy, and the well-established literary periodical Mathrubhumi Weekly decided to stop its publication, and it is not something which was very usual. It was a very unusual move because they came under pressure and they withdrew it. That the novel then it was published initially in this periodical in serial form. It was later published in book form by DC Books and became one of the best-selling novels of our time. It also bagged some very important literary awards. Harish, on more than one occasion, talked about unexpected turns the act of literature keep taking. It is as if there is an intricate relationship between facts and fiction that he is unable to separate. Or to push this point a little further, these are two real events, what he may see as a writer, the fact and fiction, that one encounters in the play we generally name as life. So for him, life doesn't seem to be the place where these are separate, and in his writing it is very, very visible. And we also get a glimpse of this, the impossibility to separate fact and fiction in the film AEDAN. Not just fact and fiction, the character and the writer, etc., are not clearly separated. And they're not, one thing I found interesting about Harish and also his films is, probably some of his films is that it is not a literary technique, not as a literary technique that he employs it. figuring of the author itself in the fictional space. But it is some kind of puzzlement he is unable to resolve, which he presents in his fictional writing. Okay, the name of the character, if you remember the film, the name of the character of the struggling writer is Hari, who with which the story with which the cinema begins and it ends. And Harish himself appears in one scene of the film. He appears in that scene where the dead body is brought to Kottayam, and the driver and the friend of the girls whose father died, and a couple of others are sitting together and drinking in the backyard of the house. One character he appears here. Harish, the author, appears in that cinema. What makes Harish a distinct voice of contemporary a distinct voice of contemporary Malayalam literary scene is this aspect of his writing, which is very strong in most of his writings. Again, this may also be the reason why his stories attract filmmakers or began to attract filmmakers much later, like Lijo Jose Pellicheri, who used Harish's story for 3 of his latest films. In AEDAN, we see characters whom we may describe as those from ordinary walks of life, find themselves in or subject themselves to unusual situations. It is one thing to describe them in writing, and we may say that even say that perhaps it is in writing in that medium, writers have an advantage using descriptive possibilities of various emotions, and it is altogether a different challenge to create them in the medium of cinema. I would say that this film, when I watched it, I felt that AEDAN succeeds to a large extent in producing these simple, complicated life situations. These situations are not caught using available techniques of mainstream cinema, such as background music. How do you put it? Music is often used in order to actually produce those emotions, or action or acting. They are not bound by the techniques of, I'm talking about AEDAN. Yeah, they are not bound by they are also interestingly not bound by the techniques of what we may call contemporary realist cinema, a genre to which Malayalam film turned a great deal in the recent time and received what we may say excessive applause. When we watch AEDAN, we feel that if the film had employed those techniques, we may say techniques of some of the films that Malayalam produced in recent time, AEDAN would have lost its singularity. I will make just one final point and end my presentation. If I remember correctly, AEDAN was not released in cinema theater, or probably never got a chance. Now we are living at the time when the old distinction between art cinema and commercial cinema, that distinction doesn't hold any longer, that we know. Art films, what we called art films, as distinct from popular film or mainstream film, when that genre existed, were also referred to as award films. I think it was popularly referred to as award film, just to mean that they are meant for award events and not consciously not meant for wider viewership. And they are slow they are often or mostly shown in film festivals. And even when we watch it, in its style and form, it appears closer to that genre. Its pace is slow, we know. It does not seem to have been driven by the desire for wider audience, in the sense the cinematic technique that employs are very different. I mean, it doesn't seem to be bothering much about the audience acceptability of the film or its style by the audience. But it would be wrong to say that it belongs to that old world of art film, because our time does not make that space available, a category available for one to say that it belongs actually there. So it is important to it's also important to ask and think, what does cinema, AEDAN as a cinema, do to the cinema form? What does its sheer presence, a rather humble but firm presence, or somebody decides to make a film and say that, okay, I'll make film of only of this sort and let it be the. What does it do? I'm more interested to know what it does to Malayalam rather than cinema, world cinema or whatever. Because Malayalam cinema has also moved in a certain direction, and it has actually has managed to get wider attention beyond the linguistic limitations regional cinemas often face. Now, I'm more interested in that question. What is this particular film, this genre of style of film? Sanju's film, I'm familiar of. Sanju, when Sanju speaks, he could speak if people are more and more people are making films of that sort. What is it? Its presence, films like AEDAN, rather I would say humble, because since that old distinction of art and popular film disappeared, everybody seems to be making very strong claim to be both popular but also distinct. A claim that probably popular films of the yesteryears couldn't make. But it is in that time when that distinction disappeared that AEDAN came. So what does it do to Malayalam cinema? It seems to be reveling in some kind of glory. Now, Sanju will perhaps be the best person to speak about this. In the presentation, I tried to highlight three things. One is the question of adaptability, adaptation, and what does that technique do to cinema and its adaptation of three short stories. The second point I tried to make was about the kind of thing that cinema AEDAN was trying to capture, which is not easy to capture. And there are techniques of available techniques. There is a refusal to resort to available technique, thereby making a distinct place for itself in the cinematic world. And the third is a related point, when the distinction between art and commercial film disappear, or that distinction cannot hold. What does a film like AEDAN does to us, and what kind of experience it offers to audience? Why films of that sort should continue to exist, in what form it can exist, etc., etc. And with that, I think I will, and I deeply apologize for, very sincerely apologize for all the troubles that I caused because of incorporation by my computer, and I also got tensed.
Thank you so much, Ashokan. There was no inconvenience at all. The whole point of going live is to live with uncertainty and precarity, as you said. So it's perfectly fine. And thank you very much for doing two things. One is to kind of give us the literary context of this film. Many of us have, at least I have not read Harish, but from this particular film and all the films that you mentioned based on his scripts, which I did not know he had co-authored, it looks like I'm missing out a very important writer in Malayalam. Secondly, also this larger question of how you place this film when the distinction between art and popular cinema is becoming fuzzy, virtually non-existent. People are, wondering. There are all kinds of new terminologies that are coming up, like indie cinema and so on. So where does one place a film like this? Thank you very much for filling us in on the context. It was a difficult film, but a very, very rewarding film to watch. Thanks for showing some of its complexity. The discussion is now open. If anyone wants to come in, you can do that. And Sanju Surendran, if you want to respond to any of the points that Ashokan has made, you are most welcome to come in right away as well. Sanju, would you like to come in?
Hi, hello. No, I was just listening to Ashokan, so it's a pretty good presentation. I would rather respond to. I don't think I would have anything more to add to that, But I would be interested in responding to what other people who had seen the film or talk about the film in general. Yes.
Yeah, sure. If anyone wants to come in at this point to respond to the film or Ashokan's presentation, please unmute yourself so I know that you want to speak. And while people gather their thoughts, Sanju, I must tell you how much, it was a difficult film to watch. I watched it over 2 nights. 1 hour each. And the first word that came to me after watching the film was macabre. And I was reading some of the reviews, and one of the Hindu reviews in the Hindu had also used the term. And I was kind of reassured that, okay, there are others who have seen this aspect of the film as well. But I mean, it is like traversing emotions in such an amoral fashion. There is no moral compass or moral horizon within which any of the actions, particularly, let us say, the woman and her prospective boyfriend driving with the dead body. I mean, how do you even make sense, which world are these characters coming from, you think, and yet they are very much part of this world and around us. So one aspect that struck me was, as Ashokan was pointing out, the manner of narrating the film. So the seamless transition between the game that is being played and again, this game in some weird way also reminded me of Holi Divasate Kali, the kind of terrible consequences that an innocent game can have. So the motive of the game that they are playing and the stories that you take us to. It's very easy not to notice the links between these. It looks like there are 3 stories that are there. What is the relation? So if you have missed that this is part of the game. So I thought that was a very interesting and novel technique, where you are taking us to the visualization. And a little before today's discussion, I was talking to Tarkeshwar and I was saying, okay, so from whose point of view are the other 2 stories coming up? So is this some kind of an omniscient narrator? So because it's is it a knowledge that these 2 characters have, the ones who are playing the game, Hari and the teacher, or is this coming from an omniscient narrator taking us to filling us in on the details of the lives of these 2? So that was something I was kind of thinking of. The second is, of course, the filming technique. There is such a distance you establish between us and the characters. So we don't get to identify. Most of them are long shots. Even when you change the angle and give us 2-3 different shots, it's not to make the characters come any closer to us, except probably in the story with the dead body. I mean, there is particularly Hari's story, and also the other one, of Jesus coming. And I mean, the characters are seen at a distance. So the positioning, the way in which you position the camera vis-a-vis the characters, as if you want us to see them at a distance, not identify, because it's a world that you expect we don't share with share with the characters. So I thought maybe some of these techniques were very conscious to ensure that there is no identification of the characters, no way in which we see minute emotions. We only see them in relation, like proxemics, and in relation to what is around them. So I was, thinking of some of these aspects. Maybe you would want to respond now, or wait for others also to comment, and then
I will try
come.
to respond now before I forget about the
Okay,
point
sure.
situation, because
Yeah,
you said so much. I've been just counting my fingers, which point should I respond? Okay. Regarding the amoral lens, which you had said, I found one thing very interesting is that in Harish's writing as such, the way he actually depicts characters, there isn't any glorification or things like that. It's just plain human beings, and the beauty is in their roughness or in the plainness of that, or how we see characters in day-to-day life. For instance, I would say the character of mother, how she's being portrayed. So usually in cinema, especially in Malayalam cinema, mother figure is almost like a goddess. Everybody say that this mother would be calling the actors Unni or something like that, and they would be almost like a goddess. That kind of the way they would only speak very sweetly, think of only noble thoughts. But in real life, it is a different thing. And I'm saying this is also the way how fiction creates certain stereotypes. Fiction creates certain stereotypes in the way how certain things are being perceived or should be perceived, in that sort of way. So regarding this mother, I found it very interesting. How the mother is being played, and in this film, or in Harish's story as such, you have the mother who's actually asking him to bury the puppies. This is not. You have to remember that this takes place in Kottayam, which is like a very agrarian society, and they have too many mouths to feed. And burying of the puppies is not considered an act of cruelty, because it's like a normal practice sort of a thing, because they can't actually afford to take care of the puppies, or they wouldn't have time for that. And the way the mother talks about the cow, she's sometimes very caring, but at the same time she's ready to give it off. So this shade of human characters, the gray shades of human characters, which the writer tried to explore in his works, in his writings. I found it very interesting material for cinema to explore. So this is why it seems like an amoral lens, amoral lens, because when we take Mandrigawal, that is a name of the story. That means magical tale. Tale in the sense that tale of a monkey. The hero is considered to be a monkey. He's given in the story. He's made to appear like almost like Hanuman. But we didn't go to the literal thing. But we almost cast someone, a character who fits the like an actor who fits the character more or less. So here we are trying to. It's actually a very difficult story to portray. In the sense, it's a very tough time or very this thing. But Harish says that after 9 years gap, this was a story which he had wrote. And this based on a real life story. So one nurse from Kottayam actually, she brought her father's dead body from from Bangalore to Kottayam. So this much is had happened or was much relief. Some of them would be the writer's imagination of fantasy. So we can't actually separate which one is fantasy or which one is reality. But things can happen. So I thought that we would I just let the story play out, in the way it is. So we try to explore it, and also the actors were very interesting people to work with. Like we did rehearsals extensively, and so they were very comfortable. And so even during the shoot, also we tried some new things out. So it was very interesting in that way, because it's actually a very tough tale to sell, or a very difficult tale to say. So this is what we had used. I'm saying this is the way I had perceived this thing, and you were telling about Oridu Ustekali, So it's very interesting is that Unniyar who's the writer of Oridu Ustekali, and Harish, they actually belong to the same village, and I think they are friends and they share the same ecosystem. So Unni was saying, there's a theater performance called Oridu Ustekali. It's like some sort of a small theater. So Unni used to watch this theater performance when he was a kid. So inspired from that, he later in his life he wrote this Oridu Ustekali. The most interesting thing I found in this film was the play, the card game which they play. It's so I'm saying it's a very weird sort of a card game. You cut out dead bodies. I'm saying, but we have to understand that old people in Kerala, when there was a time when people used to read newspapers. Nowadays, people don't read newspapers, but when they used to read newspapers, they would actually look at this Charma column, that is the obituary column, very interestingly. They would be looking at and seeing who's dead or who's alive. It's like a kind of a census, and this they do every day religiously. Sports column is the obituary is one of the most popular columns, and so people have this tendency to do that. I think Harish just leveled it up to a different game altogether. So I thought that it should be treated in a unique way or in a different way, so that it doesn't fall into the ordinary sort of thing. So this was the way and it is like we try, see the locality where Harish belongs. It's called Neendur. It's a village in Kottayam. So Neendur actually is like Macando of Latin America literature, because in Neendur, every person whom you would meet would be either a poet or a politician. Politicians in that a very politically enlightened guy, like say a revolutionary. That's the correct word. A revolutionary or a poet. They would be Unmadis. Unmadis means like someone with a very poetic sense of world, a very rebellious sense of world, and they would have very unique stories to tell. So even if you go to a tea shop and have a cup of tea, if you have got the ears, you will hear 10 stories. You can collect 10 stories. So there's places like that. So I was thinking that these stories all happen in Nindur, nearby localities, and so these two people are talking about different stories which happen to people. So in one of the cards they talk about the story which happened, and the second card they talk about the Neetu's father who had died. So and they also come for the death ceremony. We can see Harish and Vitas are coming for the death ceremony. So I like this idea of a story within a story within a story. It's a very Asian or Indian style of storytelling. So I try to incorporate that in films, in a way how a story is being told. Stories actually mean something more, So this is the way I try to say it. So I think I answered 3 of your questions, right? I forgot the other 2. So
No, that's okay. That's perfectly fine.
yeah.
Yeah. Nagargiri Ramesh sir, you were unmuting yourself when I think interrupted. Please go ahead, sir. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to share with the friends here a piece of information
Yeah.
about a film in Kannada.
Yeah.
And that film is also, I can say, a fusion of 3 stories.
Mm-hmm.
And the film is called Marikondavaru. The writer of these 3 stories is the same person, one person, and that is Devanur Mahadeva.
Okay.
You might also have heard this name, Devanur Mahadeva, particularly in the context of an award that was given to him by Tamil Nadu and Kerala governments recently. Vaikam Award.
Yes, yes, yes.
It
Yeah.
happened recently.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
And right. And I think you know, Devanur Mahadeva is a celebrated writer, one of the very important contemporary writers. And especially he is known for that play called Vodalala, which was staged long ago. And then we have these three stories together. One is Marikondavaru, the other one is Dambaru Bandhudu, and the third one is Grastaru.
Okay, okay.
Literally speaking, the literal translation would be Marikondavaru is those who have sold themselves.
Yeah.
The second one, Dambaru Bandhudu. Dambaru means tar that you use for the roads. Dambaru Bandhudu is the tar that came. Anyway, that's a very bad literal translation. But it's the use of the tar. Then anyway, you can later on go into the details.
Yeah.
And it is not just about the coming of the tar,
Yeah.
but the changes you see that this modern civilization brings about in the ancient society. The other one is Grastaru. Grastaru means the cursed. So you also, particularly Tarakeshwar and Nikhila here, know well about Devanur Mahadeva and also the stories.
Yes.
And the stories, you see, why Devanur Mahadeva, Vodalala and all the other things, they revolve around especially the lives of Dalits.
Yes.
And normally the area of action, not exactly the place of action, the area of action in his stories is Chamarajanagar district.
Yeah.
Chamarajanagar, I think you have heard of it.
Yes.
It is a district in Karnataka which borders with Tamil Nadu, maybe with Kerala also. I'm not very sure. So, and this film is directed by Mr. K. Shivarudraya. It is also an award film, winning film, and it was released in 2017.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
And then another thing that I thought I would say is just for the word. In fact, even as I was listening to Mr. Ashokan, I was just reminded of that, of the film that Marikondavaru that I had seen long ago. And only then, you see, I left the meeting and went back and checked to confirm that I was right in my memorizing those things.
Yeah.
So I got to know the details. But in order to know how the goes, one has only to watch the film. But one thing that I can add here is that the film is made in the realistic mode. You are talking of the award films and the alternative art films and all that. But here it is done in the realistic mode only, but it is also an award winning film.
Yeah.
That is the information I thought I could share with you here. Thank you.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for drawing the parallels. Anyone else who would like to come in, please unmute yourself so I know you want to speak.
Can I come in, Nikhila?
Yes, please go ahead, Geeta.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Ashokan, for that really wonderful introduction to the film and for setting it in the context of Malayalam literature as well. The movie, as Nikhila said, it was a difficult watch in the sense that I know it has won the best award for cinematography, but somehow I found it very dark in large parts of the film, which kind of made it strenuous to watch. Although some of the shots looked really beautiful and really stunning, and at the same time, what I really found intriguing was, the way food and drinks. All of this is set alongside death. And it is still called a garden of desire. So, this kind of desire juxtaposed with death, which can be, in a sense, the end of desires. That is something I found very interesting. Thank you. Thank you.
The previously we had thought of the film, the title of the film as Night Travel, Ratri
Okay.
Yatra, because there were so many night scenes in the film.
Yeah.
So we actually thought of the title, and when I read the novel, when I read the short stories of Harish, the first story, the thing which I found very interesting was very sensuous description of night. So the main character Hari is traveling in the night towards Peter's house, and the way he crosses the fields, the way he crosses the brooks, and he watches the fishes. So it's very, in the sense, it's almost like a haiku, in the sense that it's just sheer observations. But with these observations, you come across a sheer poetry. So I found it a very beautiful, very sensuous, like evocation of night, what he had written. So I thought that in film also we should have some amount of night. And it's like the problem is that this film is actually made for the big screen. So if you see in a small laptop, I'm saying
Yes, it,
it should
it
be
came
like
across that
yeah,
way.
isn't that it should be like a huge canvas and you're watching like a dot. He's walking
Right.
or something like that. And in that
True.
case, it would work. You could get that immersity of the night and stuff like that. But otherwise, in other countries, if say if it's a well-lit room and you are just watching on the screen, so you might not get the feel of the night. But we tried to portray in cinematography sense, we tried to use three kinds of lenses for each narrative. So one would be a high-speed lens, one would be a Cook lens, one would be a Hawk lens, so suiting each situation, say suppose the travel story from Bangalore to Kottayam, so it involves a lot of low light and stuff like that. So we used a very high speed kind of a lens which actually picks up the light. And for the first story, we used a very cinemascope kind of a lens. So we get this whole vast expanse of nature. So I've been working in Kottayam when this film was when I developed the script and also we shot. So we used to travel around the place and explore different, but I found the landscape of Kottayam very interesting. You would have three kinds of places. Where one would be in Upper Kuttanad area where you have these verdant green fields and stuff like that. Other would be the plains, and then also there would be the hilly areas, the mountainous areas, which they call as high range. So I thought that these three geographies should be represented adequately. So we tried to pick the locations very choosily. For me, casting is very important. Casting of locations, as well as casting of the actors. So we spent a lot of time handpicking the locations. For instance, daily I would travel from Kottayam town to my institute, K.R. Narayan Institute. So it's like a 20 kilometers. So, and on the way, you would see some very interesting locations, maybe a house or a quarry. So some of these locations would stay in your mind. And later, when I'm making the film, I thought that maybe we could explore this location. Some emotional connect we make with some locations. So this is how I try to look at it in a cinematographic sort of a way.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
yes, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else now would like to come in? Please unmute yourself so I know you want to speak. Murli Krishna, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Now, Mr. Sanju, what is your take on the absence of female characters in the film, but for the mother character?
And I found that, see, Harish had written the story as a tribute to the bravery of the nurses. In the sense that he was saying in Kottayam district or even in Kerala, the nurses are very brave. In the sense that they would be very ordinary women who wouldn't even look at people's faces. But one day you find them actually taking a flight to Ireland, and setting up a life there, and they would actually save the whole family. I was like in some of Ghatak's characters, how they would actually like Meghadakadara, the main protagonist would actually look after the whole family, you know. So this kind of emotion these nurses have. So this is like, and he found it a very like this the story Harish was saying that it had really happened, you know, nurse from Kottayam. So this is like a tribute to the bravery of the nurses, you know, and even we see a lot of films now are coming up with nurses as a main protagonist because they are very popular abroad also because they are very skilled, extremely talented workforce, and professionally also they are very, like, say for instance this new film All We Imagine Is Light has nurses as the protagonist. Yeah, so like that. So um, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyone?
one
Yeah,
more.
please go ahead.
Yeah, I think how did you find the intertextuality of the entire process? Did you encounter more problems as far as that aspect of intertextuality is concerned?
By intertextuality, what do you mean? Like,
That is adaptation of the stories into that film.
yes, yes, okay, okay. Yes, like we were screening this at screened the film at IFFK, and one of the audience had asked a question. He asked the question whether how are you how much are you loyal to the text for making this thing, you know? So Harish had answered the question. He was saying that cinema should be loyal only to cinema itself. It shouldn't be loyal to anything else, you know. So what I found that answer very interesting because he was saying that like Ashokan would say, he's a collector of stories, you know. So he was saying that he had taken these stories from life, observed these stories from life, and translated it to the literary medium. So similarly, Sanju had taken this text from the literary medium and transformed into a cinematic medium. So whatever the cinema requires is what he has done, you know. So this I like that approach which Harish had placed. So to my mind, it's like when we are doing an adaptation of a text to a screen, it's not like we don't do a literal adaptation, you know. We actually take because each scene or each character would have an emotional quotient to it. They would have a certain emotion attached to it. So how do we actually convey the emotion onto screen in a way which cinema communicates? Like say, for instance, one of the stories is called Chapatile Kolabadagam. You know, Chapati is like a culvert. The literal translation would be the murder at the culvert. You know, the story where two people fight and one of them gets murdered. You know, the name of the story is Chapatile Kolabadagam, the story at the culvert, and the murder actually happens at a culvert. In Malayalam, the word chapat, when we say it, it evokes a lot of mystery, you know, evokes some kind of a mysterious aura to the whole place. But when we look at the visual as such, the word chapat, it means a culvert, which is a small depression in the road to let the water by. So it isn't much of a visually engaging thing, you know. So then we thought that a quarry might be a very interesting way to shoot this thing, you know. So we took a long quarry and we put a long track from one end of the quarry to the other. And I think we almost shot it to the magic. Like that whole day, we were just trying to get that shot right. One day, I think one day, different takes it took to do it properly. We shot it the magic hour. We say there was some. It was a very difficult shot, you know. So we had all the smoke put up from different thing, and it was very difficult for them to fill up the frame. You know, it was like from one end to another. It's like the whole area. So then we took the shot. So this is the way we try to visualize it for the screen. You know, try to take the emotional quotient from the words or from the characters and try to bring up something new for the screen, like that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Madhurima, Maria, anything to say? Tarkeshwar? Tarkeshwar, yeah, please go ahead.
Hey, if nobody else is there, then I will pitch in. Thank you for the film, Sanju, and thank you for the introduction. I was thinking aloud. I didn't know that the film is based on three short stories, but I thought the film is woven together by the title itself. Though you were thinking of other titles, as you said, the Garden of Desire, the Eden. Eden is also a life after death, but a life only after death. So the life and death, in that sense, are interconnected in the notion of Eden itself. And the movie begins with death of the puppies, and then it continues with that theme. And I think for some people, what is death is, for some people, could be Eden too, or for the same person. I thought the entire movie is about musings on death and trying to explore what is birth and what is death. And in fact, the opening scenes itself introduces both. While the puppies are buried, a cow is trying to give birth to a calf. So in that sense, there is a birth and there is a death. And then again, this is not a matter of celebration, the birth of the calf too, because there is a problem associated with the entire process in that particular event too. So in that sense, it was quite interesting. So even in the one case, the fellow who is troubling others gets modified, and when he gets modified and when he moves towards peace, the other two are trying to probe that, end up in death. And then the next story too, there's a case of death, and then the woman who is trying to find her soulmate, and the other fellow thinks that this is the opportunity to be closer to her, to get back his dream girl. So in that sense, the contradictions or the interconnectedness between the death and life, or the Eden and the death, I think that comes out very well in the movies. Of course, as everyone said, the first part, until the Bangalore scene came, the nurse scene came, it was very pitch dark. But only during the Bangalore scene, it was quite bright on the screen. Again, it moves back to the when they travel to Kottayam, I think it becomes dark. So in that sense, this play of dark and the bright was also quite interesting experiment, I thought. Thank you for the movie, and thank you for the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the observations. Thank you.
Okay, Sanjay, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, hi. Nothing much, but I was thinking about this the use of myth in your film. Saturn, on the one hand, this character is talking about Saturn, that how in the Garden of Eden, because of Saturn, that he, tempted Eve, and life continues, life progresses, and the story also progresses. So you need a negative character, a villain, to push forward the story. And again, after some time in the film, you also mentioned Duryodhana, that how, so there is a parallel in Bible and here Mahabharata, that there also Duryodhana is actually, it's kind of evil in Mahabharata, and because of Duryodhan and Dusashan, and then the story continues. So in our life, the everybody has a role. There are positive roles, and somebody has to perform the negative roles. And as these things are already, like I think Geeta Nikhila was saying, that presented from the amoral point of view, so beyond moral, just as it happens in our life, and just as they appear in fiction or in film. So I like that parallel. And also the use of animals, non-human animals, dogs in different roles. Initially, we see in the film as, they are already alive, but they are buried. And cow, tortoise, again, as first time as alive, and then I think being cooked in a pot. And talking about the life of the tortoise, that how it lives for 200 something like 75 years, or so that tortoise must have seen the grandfather of that person, or the great grandfather of the person. And there is a place also where the car stops and the van stops, and they see elephants all of a sudden. So there is some there the camera stops and shows a couple of elephants beside the road. After that, the journey continues. Hen and snakes are referred to. They are not shown, I think, in the film, but in some of the dialogues we hear of snakes. So, like this person says that you keep this torch, and you might find some snakes. And then the boyfriend of Neetu also is talking about snakes, fish, all this presence of animals, like non-human animals. That was also fascinating for me. Thank you very much for this beautiful film.
I think it's because of the agrarian setup. Like it's like a place in Kottayam, and it's like a village in Kottayam. So usually you have some kind of pets, or you have a lot of animals associated with the house. There would be dogs or cows, or and it's like Kottayam or in any place in Kerala. I'm saying sometimes it's even if you walk in the night, it's a normal thing which you would say that there would be snakes at night, so you should to be careful. So I think so in a way also I think Harish tried to use the animal imagery in some way, because he tries to talk about death in a way. He tries to talk about birth, and also about life or longevity of life, something in between. So I think he had used these animals as a kind of an imagery in a very subtle kind of a way. But even otherwise, like in a Kottayam, you would find all these animals, very, if you place a frame, there would be one animal or the other, like that. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that last sequence was completely unexpected. Him turning back to throw stones at the house, and and the old man dying. I mean, nothing prepared me for the way we see Hari. I mean, at best, he just seemed like a young man with lot of time on his hands. But this vicious side to him, we had no clue. As long as we were watching the film till that point, and suddenly. And actually, while watching, I was thinking aloud, and I was saying, is this something that he's imagining that he might actually go back and do? And then to realize that he has been the perpetrator. Nothing really prepared us, I mean, when we talk of character arcs and what characters might look like, might become. In this film, everything is so, at least this part is so unpredictable, I thought. Yeah.
It was a very interesting story about Harry was telling me how the story of Peter Sir and Harry, that story evolved. So he knew Peter Sir for a long time. So Peter Sir is like a real life character. So in his village, so he's just like this. He's a grand old man and he's living by himself. He's got a servant and he's very fond of country liquor and he makes his own booze and sometimes his sons and daughters, they're all outside, living outside, and he's lived a good life. So one, he was saying, and he would used to visit Peter Sir often, and Peter Sir is the one who actually told the story of Neetu to Harish about the nurse who brought her father from Bangalore to Kottayam. He was the one who told the story. So one night he was telling that Peter Sir called him Harish, and he was telling he was very frightened and very shaken. He was saying that somebody is throwing stones at my house, and I'm very frightened. I'm an old man, and how do I deal with the situation, And so Harish was saying he couldn't sleep that night. I'm saying, or this was the seed or the nucleus for the idea for this film. So in Kerala, there is an idea called Chataneru. Chataneru in the sense that if Chatan means like a little demon. Chataneru means a little demon throwing stones at the house. So if that would be the rough translation. So if it is like an abandoned house or something like that, or if some people wants to get hold of a good property or something like that, they would throw stones at the house. Or they would say that it's like this little demon has threw stones at it, or there would be a rumor around that. So Kutti Chatan or the little demon is a popular myth in Kerala. So this myth he had used effectively in the film. So this was the kind of a starting point for writing the story. Yeah. So
Anyone else? Ashokan, you're also welcome to come back if you have anything to say.
I think Ashokan's computer has again gone out, and so
Oh,
no, I'm
okay.
just joking.
No, but he's there. His iPhone is still there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just joking. So
Ashokan, if you have anything to say or anyone else.
No, I think it's coming. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
No, I was watching since I had to make a presentation and also remember reading Harish's work, which I wanted to read in greater detail for some time. But I think this coming together or filmmakers like Sanju, it's not as if Harish's work everybody finds interesting. It's also an interesting and exciting moment for film industry. But Harish's film only some people find very very attracted to or attractive. And one aspect of Harish is that the characters are deeply embedded in one place, and they live certain kinds of life which is beyond our moral understanding of what life is, which is actually real life situations. It can be a nurse whose father dies, it can be an old man. So I think that is what Harish find most interesting, and what readers find more attracted to, precisely because they have all. It's not as if these are characters who have certain shades of gray to them. This gray that is the mainstay of those characters, and there is a detailing of uh, and precisely because Harish's characters and stories are embedded in real time and space, and there is a greater it's actually micro description of one place, and I mean that way I find this writing and stories very unique. uh, I mean, in the sense it will disturb us, but if we dare to go down there into that world, we will encounter them as everyday people. And it's not as if they are it is the kind of familiarity that we have about unusual situations, such as a slum where violence happens, or etc., etc. It's just ordinary middle class characters, and they are all really ordinary. They are all really, in a certain sense, middle class, caught in life situations. That I think that is what is most disturbing, or I mean, I know I did not really find any of those very disturbing, but I found his style of writing and the highlighting of certain things very, very fascinating. And also, Harish's cinema filmmakers like Sanju finding that very passionately attracted to that. I mean, who don't really care for, not that they don't, it doesn't care for, it just can't. The real life situations the characters are caught in, can't care for some of the norms of desirable norms of life that we are more familiar with. So it's that way it is disturbing, and I think it's a very productive disturbance that one feels, which I thought was nice. Yeah. I think almost everybody actually talked about those things. Okay. Yeah. That's
Okay. Yeah. Any other points to be made? Anything else? Okay, you mentioned Payal Kapadia's film. Next week, we are actually discussing that film.
That's wonderful.
All we imagine as light, yeah. So, and if possible, we are also trying to see if Payal can be accessible and helpful as you have been, Sanju. We don't know. So anyway, thank you all very much for joining tonight. It's been a wonderful discussion of a wonderfully unique film. Thanks to Ashokan for suggesting it. It has not, as Ashokan said, it's not one of those films that has, traveled like Malayalam cinema is all over OTT platforms these days. But this is one film that has not traveled much. It had not come to my notice. Thanks, Ashokan, for suggesting the film. It was a great film to watch. Thank you all for joining the discussion. Thank you, Sanju Surendran, for sharing the link to the film and facilitating this discussion, also for your time. And Ashokan, thanks for very competently introducing the film and its milieu. Thank you all. Good night. Have a wonderful weekend. We meet every Saturday at 9 p.m. Via Zoom. So you're most welcome to join whenever it is possible for you. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ashokan. Thank you, Sanju.
Thank you. Bye.